for today's cup of coffee. Oh, if you all only knew what happened.
We've already had to try to record this thing.
This is the third take on this. It is always an adventure just trying to get the video recorded. Because any type of chaos, mayhem, like I said, it's unbelievable.
My food allergies and allergies in general got triggered really bad, and now...
Anyhow, I have pulled a Brent Swanser on this because I went down a rabbit hole, and I do understand. Mine's not a matter of trying to be flowery. Mine was just a matter of presenting. Academic. Yes, it does end up being academic because I figure it's like if you're going to explain to somebody how these things came to be, you need to go back as far in history as possible. Mm-hmm. And trying to condense that is a challenge. I've been on this since 12 o'clock today. At the time of this recording, it is now 7:36 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, and I still can't breathe.
Well, I'm sorry. But anyhow, it's hard to find a stopping place because all of these things work together. And so people need to understand, how these things came to be, what words, why the words were chosen, what the words meant then versus what they mean today, the connotations of those words, how the meaning of those words has changed. Mm-hmm. So it gets vast. But now I think Swanser he's trying to be poetic. I'm not trying to be poetic. And it's not in APA format. Screw your APA format.
Yeah.
Anyhow, it was a matter of taking bits and bobs from many different sources, which I will put in the description box.
Yeah.
And it was a matter of
do your thing.
Who were, what was the definition of witches during the time of the Inquisition?
Yeah.
Okay. Not the Inquisition itself, just who qualified.
Like the Salem witch trials and
stuff. Now, that's a different thing. Inquisition was over in Europe.
Okay.
And so we've got to go back to who were the original peoples of, Britain, this area and stuff like that. And those were the Anglo-Saxons.
Yeah.
And the Anglo-Saxons were a mixture of tribes from Germany, Denmark, and the Netherlands. So
interesting.
I thought so. And pre-Christian beliefs amongst the Anglo-Saxons between the 5th and 8th centuries are basically unspecified due to a lack of written records. Uh-huh. So I hate to tell some of the neo-pagans, and they're like, oh, we're doing it the way the Druids did it. You don't know how the Druids did it because there was no written record, so you're making it up as you go along.
Yeah.
But that's true of a lot of things. Now, I wanted to discuss as far as the terms pagan and heathen, because those words are thrown around a lot. And these actually were words used by Christians in a very demeaning way towards the Anglo-Saxons. The Anglo-Saxons didn't even have a name for their belief system.
Right, they just believed in whatever.
Yeah, it was just part of their life, everyday life. Now, the word pagan comes from a Latin word, paganus, meaning villager, rustic, civilian, and itself comes from pagus, which refers to a small unit of land in a rural district. Okay, it was a demeaning Latin term, sort of like the word hick.
Oh, God. We've heard that a lot.
And it originally lacked a religious significance. So there you go. If you're calling somebody pagan, you're calling them a hick.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do get called that a lot. And ancient history and Latin expert N.S. Gill, he wrote an article for Etymology of the word pagan, and it's for Thought, I guess it's thoughtcompany.com. Mm-hmm. And he stated, when Christianity came on board the Roman Empire, those who practiced the old ways came to be called pagans. Then, when Theodius I banned the practice of the old religions in favor of Christianity, he obviously banned the ancient, quote, pagan practices. But new forms of paganism crept in through the barbarians, according to the Oxford Encyclopedia of the Middle Ages. Herodotus gives us a look at the term barbarian in an ancient context. In Book 1 of Herodotus' history, he divides the world into Hellenes, Greeks or Greek speakers, and barbarians, non-Greeks or non-Greek speakers.
Oh, wow.
That's all that means. And Etymology Online says pagan comes from the base pag, which means to fix, and is related to the word pact, P-A-C-T. It adds that the usage to refer to nature worshippers and pantheists dates from 1908.
I had no idea.
Exactly. And
that's really interesting.
According to the online etymology dictionary, that's a cool site.
I feel like I'm in school every single time we do these. Which is perfectly fine because I'm learning new stuff every single day.
But I hope it's cool new stuff. It's about interesting topics.
Yeah.
The word...
fun school.
Well, I hope so. Heathen in Old English means not Christian or Jewish. And as a noun, heathen man, one of a race or nation that does not acknowledge the God of the Bible. Perhaps literally dweller on the heath. Heath is a landmass. And one inhabiting uncultivated land. Okay. So yeah, nobody's plowed the heath lately.
Yeah.
Historically assumed to be ultimately from the Gothic language. Yeah. People thought Goths was just that. No. The Goths were a Germanic tribe who may have helped with the fall of the Roman Empire.
Now Goth has a completely different...
Sure it does, but even those people need to understand the basis of what they're claiming that they're doing.
Yeah.
The Gothic language, they had a word which may have translated to gentle heathen woman. Or a similar word which meant dwelling on the heath again. It's earth. Earth is what it means.
Yeah.
On common land, a person of one's own community. It's that simple. The Anglo-Saxon belief system was one of polytheism. You know what polytheism is?
I got no clue.
Poly means many.
Okay.
Theism is belief. So instead of one God, which is monotheism, they believed in many different gods.
Okay.
Okay, they had several deities and belief in a variety of other supernatural entities which inhabited the landscape, including elves. There was something called Nicor, which are shape-shifting water spirits.
Called what?
Nicor. I guess I'm pronouncing it. It's N-I-C-O-R. That's what it looked like.
I thought you were saying like Nightcore, and I'm like, no, that's a music genre.
No. And dragons. They very much believed in dragons. And
Dragons are cool.
Sure. Religious practices seem to revolve around demonstrations of devotion, including the sacrifice of inanimate objects and animals to their deities at certain religious festivals during the year, similar to many other types of religions.
How do you sacrifice an inanimate object?
I don't know. I mean, you just hold it up and throw it in the hole. I don't know.
You throw it in the hole, you break it or something?
Was it baby? Maybe. Or throw it in the fire.
Okay.
And there is some evidence for the existence of them having wooden temples, although other sites of worship may have been out in the open air and may have included trees and megaliths. And, Stonehenge came to my mind.
Yeah.
They actually don't know what Stonehenge was. They're assuming a whole lot.
I wonder if it's like some weird satellite or landing pad.
There's a whole lot of things it could have been. Who knows? And little is known about the pre-Christian beliefs of an afterlife, although such beliefs likely influenced funerary practices in which the dead were either buried or cremated.
Okay.
And that was typically with a selection of grave goods.
Yeah.
There's quite a few cultures that have, whatever the person used in life, they buried them with them for use in the afterlife.
Even though we know that's not
Well, they still sitting there thousands of years later. They still unused.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, there's no point in burying stuff with things.
Right. So, what happened to change all this? In 596, Pope Gregory I ordered a Gregorian mission to be launched in order to convert the Anglo-Saxons to the Roman Catholic Church. Now, in the final phase of the conversion, during these 1670s and 1680s, the final two Anglo-Saxon kingdoms, to be led by pagan rulers in Sussex and the Isle of Wight, saw their leaders baptized. Now, it is said that for the most Anglo-Saxons, the moral and practical imperatives of following one's king by converting to Christianity were a powerful stimulus. And
the damn Catholics ruin everything.
Stop that. That's not. They can't help what people did thousands of years ago either.
They still screwing stuff up.
I don't. Well, that's his opinion. That's not mine.
If it's come at me, not at her.
And although Christianity had been adopted across Anglo-Saxon England by the late 17th century, many pre-Christian customs continued to be practiced. Scholars have argued that aspects of Anglo-Saxon paganism served as the foundation for parts of Anglo-Saxon Christianity. So, pre-Christian beliefs affected the folklore of the Anglo-Saxon period, and through this continued to exert an influence on popular religion within the late Anglo-Saxon period. Both secular and church authorities issued condemnations of alleged non-Christian pagan practices, such as the veneration of wells, trees, and stones, right through the 11th century and into the High Middle Ages. Seems like there's a lot of other religions that do the same thing.
Yeah.
Lots
kind of ironic, isn't it?
Yeah. Just trees in different forms. Anyhow, however, most of
Same salami, different sandwich.
Most of those condemning such practices were largely produced around the year 1000, which may suggest that their prohibitions against non-Christian cultic behavior, I didn't like the word cultic, it should have been, religious behavior, may be a response to Norse pagan beliefs brought in by Scandinavian settlers, rather than a reference to the older Anglo-Saxon practices. So the Viking influence.
Okay.
Which was there before, during, and after.
And they don't need people to screw with it.
Various elements of English folklore from the medieval period onwards have been interpreted as being survivals from Anglo-Saxon paganism, such as Henry Bourne stated in 1720 his belief that the winter custom of the Yule log was a leftover from Anglo-Saxon paganism. Oh, yeah.
God, yeah.
And we had known this for a long time, that there was a blending of the pre-Christian ideas and then the Christian ideas. But people do not understand that.
No, not at all.
So we're trying to edify. We're trying to edify. And there was a gentleman named Isaac Bonewit. How cool is that to have a Bonewit?
You Bonewit?
Yeah, he tracks the origins of the word witch in his work, A Very Brief History of Witchcraft 101. It appears that the absolute rock bottom root of witch in the early understanding was W-Y, which means to bend or twist.
Ooh. And
within that, the root of this word developed at least two directions having to do with trees. Wig, W-Y-G, which means elm, and W-Y-T, meaning willow.
Willow.
So in both cases, the words seem to have referred not only to the culturally and economically important trees themselves, but to, parts and shoots of the trees and artifacts woven or twisted out of them, such as cords, ropes, mats, thatched roofs, baskets, whatever.
Anything you could dream of.
Yeah. And the very concepts of weaving, twisting, binding, and bending. Now, all that, as far as with trees. and the weaving process, and how that meaning has been perverted. As the centuries rolled by and the original peoples that spoke this, they split up, began migrating, all these words began to mutate, grow, pronunciations changed, all that stuff. And the terms as far as elm and willow were switched back and forth, but the connotations of bending and weaving were maintained and elaborated.
Okay.
And so the development of primary interest of the origin of witch was that of Anglo-Saxon wick, meaning to turn, twist, or bend. And the root also later grew into weak, wicker, and wicked.
Wow.
All based on the idea of something bendable or twisted. In Old English, Wicca or Wicca, I think it's Wicca. There is W-I-C-C-E.
Wicker.
Wicca.
Wicker.
Wicca and Wicca. This concept was extended in a specifically magical direction, and the sort of magic involved may be surmised from a comparison with simultaneous developments in the sister tongues, such as in Old Norse, as far as Icelandic, Norwegian, which their words mean to turn aside, conjure away, exorcise, as in exorcism.
Yeah. Exorcist.
And in Proto-Germanic and Low German, which is W-I-K-K-E-N, which is to foretell, and the Middle Dutch Wicker, like the Wicker Man,
Yeah.
a soothsayer. Yeah.
What?
That's what it says. A soothsayer.
A soothsayer?
A fortune teller.
Okay.
So there you go.
Never heard of that before.
Various other words that are referring to sorcery, divination, special knowledge, and so forth developed out of WYG and WYT. Thus the roots for wick, W-I-K, okay again, wig, wit, etc. I will include, like I said, this is why you need the link, because if those that want to study this is how it is. But it was important. It was important. The fact that several of the words referring to knowledge led some to claim a link between all of these roots. W-Y-S means wise. Therefore, Wicca and or witch at some point meant wise one.
And that is horrible. That has somehow been twisted to become a negative thing.
Absolutely. And I'm going to, as far as this part of it, because I don't feel like being angered this evening, and we'll pick this up tomorrow with the Malleus Maleficarum.
Is there going to be
Hammer of the Witches? Oh, So I don't feel like being angered.
This is part 1 of 2.
Well, yeah, sort of, kind of. But within this, these people, you've got to realize most cultures have shamans. Mm-hmm. They have seers. They have those that are gifted as far as healing with herbs, roots, any of these things. Mm-hmm. You have midwives. Because, for the women's that can birth the children's,
yes.
A lot of times it's easier to have another woman help in the process because they know what the hell is going on.
Well, yeah.
And that we have had...
That should be common sense anyway.
Well, the common sense has been thrown out the window. Are you kidding?
It's no longer common sense. It's uncommon sense.
They used to have birthing chairs.
Because you're supposed to squat when you...
Right, because gravity helps with the process of birthing.
It's the same process as us using the bathroom, too.
Right.
We're supposed to squat.
What does modern medicine do? It lays a woman flat on her back, which is absolutely torturous.
It causes more pain.
Absolutely causes more pain. Mm-hmm. And so, before your brother, I actually had gone to a midwife, and she was wonderful. Her name was Maggie. And was not allowed to have the home birth that I wanted.
What the fuck?
But anyhow, it was what it was. But they have ways as far as if the baby was breech or something like that, there were some simple ways that she knew how to turn the baby.
Ew.
So that by the time of delivery, the baby was not breech.
Too bad she couldn't have made it so that his spine wasn't up against yours.
She could have if I had been able to continue to go to her. Yep. Because he wasn't, he was front facing. It's called back labor.
Yeah.
His spine along my spine. And it was not the fun thing, but it's
No.
all right.
Yeah.
It's all right. But then a lot of these people were on the fringe of society, not quite like the sin eaters, but because that they were different.
Yes.
The other people in the tribes, they a lot of times revered them. It depended on what belief system that it was. And even as far as the elders, because the fact that somebody was older and had lived through some shit, they could
Right.
help the ones who had not yet gone through the shit. And so that has gone backwards.
Absolutely, it has.
And that this term of witch being applied to people that are older, and because they're no longer amongst what is considered the beautiful people, or some never were amongst the beautiful people.
And the thing about the witches, the way that they look, it's like, why?
At some point I will go into that.
That's part 2.
That could be part 3, actually, because...
Oh, the 3-parter.
Well,
okay.
when you start discussing Wicca...
We love that.
Well, you've got to realize...
No, I'm excited for that.
I was Wiccan for quite a few years.
Yeah, so you got experience with this.
I do.
Shit, so.
And as far as... It wasn't that I was converted to Christianity. I was born into the belief system of Christianity. There were so many questions that I had that it was ridiculous. I got, because as far as having the psychic abilities, whatever you want to call them, I was labeled a witch by parent. So I thought, okay, if I am one, I will go and be one. And so, like I said, I was very, very angry towards Christianity for many years.
Rightfully so.
And then I had a spiritual experience, the one of many, which brought me back to, a belief in Christ. But even my belief as far as Christianity is not like a lot of other people's.
Yeah.
Which it was a matter of going back all the way to the Old Testament, the same way I'm doing with the word witch, finding out what those words meant, put it in cultural context, and what it is supposed to mean in practice today. I don't mean to be complicated. I'm actually a very simple person. But I do believe that knowledge is power.
I mean, it is. There's a lot of power within knowledge.
Yeah. And so when people are using these terms and words that they have no understanding of, such as pagan, such as heathen, such as witch, that they're doing so out of ignorance. They're making people feel bad, needlessly.
Absolutely they are. They're just putting people down left and right, and it's horrible.
But even as far as the neo-pagans, and them saying, oh, we're doing this, well, you're making up your own thing. Don't go back and say that this came from the Anglo-Saxons or the Druids or whoever.
Right.
And now I have heard
That's
Styx...
just flat out disrespectful.
Yeah, Styx Hexenhammer has some really good takes on this, and he does a lot of the older occult books, which occult means hidden. We've discussed that.
Yes.
And he will publish them so that they don't get lost. But he says the same thing as far as the neo-paganism, that these people are making it up as they go along.
Yeah, absolutely they are.
So
That's like witch talk. They don't know their asses from a hole in the ground.
well, a lot of Christians don't either.
That's true.
They're making it up as they go along.
Yeah, which is not what you're supposed to do at all.
No. Do to others what you would like be done to you.
Meaning, treat them with love, respect, and kindness. And
Absolutely. Nobody else. Do you want somebody to shit on you?
Not at all.
Exactly.
Because if
Then
they
don't
shit
do it.
on me, they get shit on back.
But there again, it's a matter of you don't return evil for evil. You return good for evil. Now we've had to walk this talk for a minute that it doesn't, as far as somebody doing evil things, being repentant, which means truly sorry, asking for forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And to let go of the resentment, let go of the anger, and to continue to pray.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the basis
it's a
of our belief.
Sometimes, but I don't think anybody expects people to go through it seamlessly.
Right.
So.
But you know, and it's a matter of sharing my experience, why I believe what I believe. But as far as beating somebody into believing, absolutely not. That is not God's way.
Nope.
So if somebody's trying to do that to you, walk away, because they're not a good representative of Him.
Yeah.
It's like Gandhi said that time. He said, I like your Christ. He said, I don't like your Christians because they're so unlike your Christ.
And that's true.
Yeah. So tomorrow we will get into things. I will try to drink some chamomile tea before I go into this, which
I'll make sure to take my allergy
leads
medicine
into
tomorrow.
the Inquisition and all that stuff. And it angers me.
Yeah, very much so. And I'll be sure to take my allergy medicine before tonight and before we record, because
so you can go forth and share the knowledge that you've learned today, which means that pagan and heathen simply means people of the earth, and that the actual meaning of witch or Wicca is wise one.
Yipperski, because people need to know this.
Freak out your friends and families.
Absolutely.
So anyhow, if you've had experiences with the paranormal, supernatural, encounters with UFOs, aliens, I would say odd religious beliefs, but that opens up a whole can of worms. So let's not go there. Let's go back to the big feets and the Wendigos and the chupacabras, local legends, family legends, myths, regional things.
Yes.
If you do have an understanding of other religions and stuff like that, then I'm very much open to learning. You know, there was until recently there was one major world religion that I had not studied in depth, and recently have gotten into learning about that.
And which one is that?
That was the Muslim faith.
Oh, okay.
And because that we have people, one of which I just adored him.
Yeah.
And it was a matter of love, recognizing love.
He was really cool.
I can love somebody and not have to adopt their belief system.
Right.
You know, sometimes you just agree to disagree, and by having conversation, you can come to different conclusions, sit there and go, this is why I believe what I believe. Why do you believe what you believe?
Yeah.
And so that challenges...
It's supposed to how it's be anyway.
Each challenges their own. And if you've got something that's preaching hate, I don't care what it is, or somebody that's preaching hate out of what they believe, no, I don't want them in my space.
Right. Absolutely.
So, but that just be how I be.
Yeah.
So send those things
I just want good vibes all around.
Yeah, really. We need good vibes.
Yeah.
Send those things to cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com.
Send us good vibes.
Send us good vibes. Send us prayers. We need that all the time. And like I said, I will take, I don't know, maybe I should drink a glass of wine before doing that other one. I don't know. I very seldomly,
I smoke like 18 cigarettes before we do that.
So we will go into there as far as what the definition of witch was according to the Inquisitors tomorrow. You're forewarned. Get an extra cup. Have a beautiful day.
Make sure it's not light
Prepare
roast.
yourself. Don't do no blonde roast. That's nasty.
I like a light roast.
Oh, you would. You like cowboy coffee, which
I like milk and sugar. I like creamer.
Cowboy coffee, half coffee or a third a cup of coffee, the rest of it milk and sugar.
Yes.
So that's it.
Yes.
Anyhow, folks, we appreciate you for listening and sharing part of your morning with us. I mean, that is for reals. Mm-hmm. So, and know that you're loved. If you're having a bad day, know that somebody somewhere loves you. If you need encouragement, send me an email. I will encourage you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, we'll see you on the next cup. Bye.
Subscribe.